Teresa Vaplon from Minnesota Housing, and I am the main contact for the Housing Stability Services grant that we're working with that is now going to be partnering with the RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance. We will do a training, but first, if other people from Minnesota Housing just wanted to introduce themselves as well. Scott and Michelle, I know that you're both on the meeting. If you wanted to pop on and say hi.
I am Michelle Doyle, Program Manager for the Rent Help Minnesota, now Rent Help Targeted Assistance Program. You've known me, I've been here the whole time.
And I'm Scott Butel, he, him pronouns, Assistant Commissioner for Special Projects, working on the RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance with these folks. Thanks.
All right. So I am going to, first I should say that we're not going to do big introductions like we normally do at the kind of kickoff meetings that we have with funding. Next week, we'll be back to our regular roundtable meeting, which means that we'll be able to more easily kind of go through introductions and get to know each other better. But just knowing that we have so many participants today, we're not going to do a lot of, we aren't going to do one-on-one introductions. There are 19 providers that are moving ahead with the housing stability services. One of those providers is not doing the RentHelp-MN targeted assistance, but the other 18 are. And that's just a gentle reminder too that the RentHelp-MN targeted assistance is an optional part of the housing stability services funding that we're talking about. So there's 2 that we're still working on getting contracts, but the vast majority have contracts and are ready to move ahead. And we're even planning on having the portal open as soon as tomorrow and have that be our official kickoff launch day. But before we do that, we need to go over a whole bunch of details about the portal and how housing stability and the program will work. So I am going to share my screen and pull up our presentation for today. All right. Does everybody see RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance? All good there? All right. So I am going to be partnering with Widow O'Brien's staff on this training too. And so to get started, I'm just going to see if Alicia, if you want to introduce yourself as my partner for the training session. And then later when you bring on more WOB staff, they can introduce themselves at that time.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Alicia Treywick. Partner it with Teresa in this training with Widow O'Brien's here, and we have a few people from our team also on the call. So, you know, like Teresa said, I'll give those introductions when we get to their slides. But yeah, happy to be here and excited about this launch. Thanks, Teresa.
Yeah, thank you. So part of this slide is going to be talking more about that relationship because everybody here has worked, all the providers have worked with Minnesota Housing, and now we're pulling in WOB, Widow O'Brien's, which I will call WOB to work with us in this partnership. So because now we're adding some other layers to the process. We want to make sure that that's clear to everybody and the benefits of the partnership and how it's going to work as we move along. All right. So first, the RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance is specifically what we're talking about. And that is going to have WOB, Minnesota Housing, and you, the providers, as part of it. So the big thing, the RentHelp-MN, the targeted assistance, is going to run differently than just plain RentHelp-MN did. And so especially for those agencies who were field partners, who had partnered with other field partners at the time that we had RentHelp-MN, some of the processes will remain the same, but the biggest change is this is a referral-based system running through the HSS providers. So we're looking to assist the low-income Minnesota renters who are most at risk and vulnerable, facing housing instability and eviction. And so with the referral-based system, people will be eligible for direct assistance in addition to the housing stability services. The direct assistance can pay for rent, utilities, and other rental costs. And again, I just can't stress enough that unlike the original RentHelp-MN, this is by referral only, and all the referrals will come through you, the HSS providers. You're allocated a number of monthly referrals that I had emailed out to everybody quite a while ago at this point. So I will re-email out to everybody their referral number for each month. And that might have changed a little bit from the original, only going up, no one's going down, just as we reallocated some of the monthly referrals. And there will be no public-facing system for the RentHelp-MN. It's all running through the providers. So no, even the clients that you're working with cannot log on to the RentHelp-MN website and apply themselves. They are working directly with you as providers. And so hopefully by doing the targeted assistance, we can reach the highest impacted Minnesota residents who need the rental assistance. So here I'm gonna turn it over to Alicia real quick, just to touch on some of the relationship that will be directly between the HSS partners and the WOB navigator.
Great, thanks, Teresa. So I have well, you say WOB, we say WOB, I guess. So if you hear WOB, it just comes naturally for me. So the WOB are WOB navigators, and these navigators are basically like team leads and a liaison between our teams and you all. And so I wanted to have an opportunity here to introduce them to you. We have Felicia Hedgepeth. If you want to, Felicia, just kind of wave. They will always be speaking individually in just a moment, so you'll be able to distinguish who they are. Tanner Pogan. Tanner, if you can just kind of wave. I don't even know if I can see you here. I'm assuming you're waving. And Tessa Brooks. She's also on the call, and I can't see her, but I'm assuming she's waving as well. Anyway, the three of them will go over this slide with you and give you a little bit more information about the different benefits and, you know, how we're kind of envisioning the partnership to work. So I will hand it off to them now, and then I will go over the HSS portal next when they finish up. So Felicia, Tessa, Tanner, off to you.
Thank you, Alicia. We are so excited to be a part of this partnership to help bring housing stability to the at-risk renters in Minnesota. Right now, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of this partnership. We want to highlight some of those benefits of the Minnesota Housing HSS provider and Widow Bryan's collaboration. Starting over here with this collaboration offers a variety of meeting, training, and communication options tailored to meet the HSS's preferred service delivery. HSSs are the first line in the trenches, boots on the ground assistance providers. We want to meet you where you're at and make this collaboration as easy for you as we possibly can. Secondly, another benefit is this partnership offers the opportunity to maximize the housing stability for Minnesota residents in need. The targeted assistance model also produces an equitable distribution of ERAP funding and a diverse workforce to ensure applicant needs are met. We will have the ability to reach those in need who have the most barriers to receiving assistance through this collaboration. And next, I'm going to pass this off to Tanner.
Great. Thank you, Tessa. Hi, guys. My name is Tanner. I just want to talk a little bit about how we're going to be more efficient in our application processing. So we want to be the liaison between the HSS partner and our system of record, so our RentHelp-MN program. We want to be we want to be tools for you to easily access the application and make sure that the processing is smooth and easy for you guys on your end, as well as strengthening our partnership between our HSS partners, communities, and the state of Minnesota. So with our trifecta of MHFA, WAB, and our HSS partners, we want to make sure that we're all strengthening that partnership and helping you in your journey and making sure that the Targeted Assistance Program helps those the most in need. And to finish our circle, I'm going to pass this on to Felicia.
You're muted.
Felicia, yeah, there you go.
Oh, I'm on mute. All right, I got to say that all over again. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicia Hedgepath, and I, like the others, am excited to be a part of this partnership. And with that being said, another additional benefit is access to ongoing training and support. Typically, we roll out a lot of information at the beginning, but we want you to know that through this partnership, at any given time, the support is ongoing. The training is ongoing. We're here to provide whatever information and training and support. The partnership lives from the time this program starts until it ends. Again, we want to provide increased transparency. Think of us as whatever you don't know and you need to know. We are creating the opportunity to have full transparency for any information regarding your applicants. Our goal is that we can all be great together so that your residents of Minnesota can be great in their housing. So whatever pertinent information that you need, we are here to provide that for you. And lastly, it's a streamlined process. Having this partnership with WAB allows you to meet your needs of the applicants, but allow us to do that legwork. So you're doing that front end work by, these are applicants that you deal with or they come to you, and then you say, here, now we're going to provide you the assistance. So we're just your behind the scene tools helping you be great. And so I am super excited about this partnership and working with on this project. So thank you. And again, and I'm sure there's some fine print that we can't see of other benefits that as we navigate through this project, just know that we are all here to support and partner with you.
Thanks, Felicia. And just so everybody is aware, so the navigators are going to be assigned a few of the organizations of each of you. So the HSS partners will be assigned to the navigators. Navigators will have a set group of organizations that they're working with. So you may be working with Tessa, Tanner, or Felicia closely, depending on what organization you're a part of and whether or not they're assigned to you. So just know that you will probably talk to maybe not all of them, but at least one of them, as we go throughout the next several months. Feel free to reach out to them, as needed. That's what they're there for.
That's very helpful information. Thank you. And thank you, Felicia, Tanner, and Tessa. So the overview process for the partnership as we move ahead to actually doing referrals. So it will all start with you as the HSS provider. You'll screen potential applicants for HSS eligibility. So this is something that you're already doing, and the requirements to be eligible for HSS services are the same as the requirements to be eligible for RentHelp-MN, the Targeted Assistance. There will be additional documents required for the RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance, but the actual eligibility, if they're eligible for HSS, that is sufficient. but we do need to verify that people have not utilized RentHelp-MN under the previous time that it was open. So the first step you will do after you've screened a person, determine they're eligible for HSS, and I should say also determine that targeted rent assistance is appropriate for that person, because again, not every client that you work with may be in need of some direct targeted assistance funds. So that will be something that you'll have to determine as providers. And also there are those monthly slots that you're allotted. They may increase as we ramp up, but just be aware that there is a certain allocated number per month that your agency can make referrals for. So you'll do kind of a short little pre-application that you will send over to the navigators who you just met through the portal that Alicia will shortly introduce you to. Then once that goes in there, they will do a behind the scenes work to determine if the person had RentHelp-MN before. And you will get back a confirmation if they're eligible for targeted assistance. And it could be that they're eligible for a shortened time period because people were eligible for up to 18 months. So it's possible that they may have already used some months of that assistance up, but still would be eligible for additional months, or they may just not be eligible based on already having used the 18 months of assistance during the first round of RentHelp-MN. So, well, it's determined that someone is eligible for assistance. It's funny that you call it WOB. I might try to adopt that. I kind of like it because WOB is a little bit of a mouthful. So maybe I'll start going with WOB if people hear that. But so the WOB will be working directly with the applicant to process the application for assistance through final determination. And that case manager at WOB will be updating a status board so you know what that process is. And one of the things that I didn't touch upon, but you'll see as we go through the portal and coming up, is that there is an email that would go out to the applicant verifying their eligibility for the application, which would be part of that as well. All right, so the roles and expectations for HSS providers. These have already been ongoing and there isn't anything terribly new except for we're adding in our work with WOB. So the first thing we would expect is that everybody participate with the RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance training and roundtable meetings. Just a reminder that the roundtable meetings are considered a mandatory part of the contract. The mandatory meetings will be every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. starting next Wednesday, August 16th. So on Monday, I was going to send out the meeting planner on Tuesday, but I will by Friday send out the meeting planner so that we can start those mandatory roundtable meetings. And that will be the time when we share anything that has to go out to all providers, and also we'll have time for training topics or check-in on how things are going. The opposite Wednesday of the mandatory meeting, the 23rd, starting on the 23rd, would be more of like an office hours check-in. So if you have questions or things that you want to discuss, you can come to those optional check-ins, but they are not required attendance. And it might just be people are checking in with a question or two and then moving on, or you might have might just want to come on to see what other providers are asking as well. So that's participate in the meetings. The HSS provider, like we talked about, will also screen for eligibility and make the referrals to WOB. Identify persons within your agency that interact with the portal. So I had included some of this information in my Friday newsletter, but I do need a listing from every agency of who the email addresses of who will access that HSS provider portal. as soon as we're done with this meeting today, I'm going to send a list over to WOB to get started on adding that access. And you will not be able to make referrals until I have those email addresses and they are added to the provider portal system. And just a note about the access is if you have any changes with your staffing, please notify me so that we can make the changes within the portal access as well. And at minimum of quarterly, I'll be touching base just to make sure that everything is still accurate and those who should have access do, and those who may no longer be working on the program or with your agency are removed from access. And then I want to stress again to utilize the WOB Navigator for updates and resolutions. The case managers that are assigned can work directly with the applicants to obtain the information needed for the targeted assistance funds. So the case managers are able to do that with the support of the HSS provider, but that is part of the role that they are taking with this process. All right. So overview of WOB's activities. So the first thing I want to stress is that in the first round of RentHelp-MN, we also partnered with Widow Bryan's for that. It's a little bit different role that is being played this time, just like before we had field partners, now we don't. So even though we're working with WOB, their role is it's more involved. They don't have as many staff, and we'll be able to establish the connections with the staff that we might not have been able to before because there was so many people working on RentHelp-MN. So even the fact that we had Felicia, Tanner, and Tessa here is a good sign as we go forward with the relationship that we're going to have direct contact with the people who can help our clients and our providers work through this process. So we want to talk about building and maintaining positive, effective, and beneficial partnerships with all providers. You'll be assigned one of the navigators to work with, and I'm also here to help facilitate that relationship if there's anything that we can do at Minnesota Housing. You will be getting reports and updates as needed from WOB, and they will be also updating app status regularly in the portal that you'll have access to. And that will all be the case managers from WOB that are doing that updating. They will assist HSS providers with obtaining and completing referrals, determine eligibility that like we talked about, and efficiently manage the application review process. So we hope that with the hands-on partnership that we're talking about going forward, there won't be applications that are slipping through the cracks because we are going to be working, you're working with the applicant, WOB is working with the applicant, and we can work to get them out the targeted assistance funds together. And then again, I know that WOB's goal is to provide excellent customer service to the participants of the RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance Program. And this is a first step towards that when you're first seeing everybody's faces, but the relationship will continue and be able to move ahead and be agile to respond to the needs of the providers and the clients themselves. All right, so if it's outcomes of a successful partnership, really, as we move ahead, this is going to give the at-risk Minnesota residents the needed rental assistance that they need and have it come out in a timely manner. We know that there is still a large need for direct rent assistance. And as we went through the first year of the Housing Stability Services contract, that was the feedback that was most often received on what could Minnesota Housing do to make the program better for the applicants, was have an element of direct assistance. So hopefully this will really make a difference in housing stability. we can kind of embrace this holistic approach and reduce housing instability and homelessness. There is a time is of the essence when it's eviction prevention, but all working together, hopefully we can work through some of those barriers to make sure that we're able to reduce the housing instability and homelessness. We really, WB worked very hard on the portal, and if that's used as a tool, it will be very valuable to you and your team and your agency to know where those applications are at. So I just really want to stress that even after this meeting, when we send that out, you go into the portal, click on your agency, play around with it, see what is on the portal so that once you start doing the referrals, as soon as tomorrow, if you're ready, you know what the portal's like. We're looking for consistent ongoing referrals of eligible applicants, and that will really show the success. We don't know because this is the first time we've tried RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance. We don't know what the demand will be, how that will look. But one of the things we do know is that we're all ready for it and want to be able to start getting referrals and move ahead as quickly as possible and have that be ongoing as new clients are entering for services, referring them for the targeted assistance. And then also looking for just building the positive partnership between HSS partners, WOB, and Minnesota Housing, which I have no doubt will just go smooth because I have told WOB so often how great the partners are to work with. It's been just a pleasure over the last year. We do have more challenges ahead of us as we roll this out, but I know that it's going to be the positive partnership and relationships that we've worked through that are going to help with the success of it and ultimately get the funding out to people who need it the most. All right, so section 2, I will hand this off to Alicia and her team to talk about it. I can't hear Alicia. Can other people hear?
No.
There we go.
Can you hear me now? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
There we go.
There's a button on this headset that I never knew about until now. Okay, thanks, Teresa. So what I was saying is, hopefully the process goes smoother than my headset did. No, we're really excited about, partnering with you all. Just to echo what Teresa said, I think this is going to be a terrific partnership, and we worked really hard, like Teresa said, to make this process as smooth as possible for you, submitting referrals, getting you to the point where you submit the referral, and then we take it from there. Hopefully that can kind of ease and calm your nerves, and you just know that all you need to do is click into the portal and kind of just check and see how the status is and where you're at. And if you have questions, we've also designed a way to easily ask those questions too. Teresa, are you okay if I steal the screen and share my screen? That way we can kind of click through the portal and I can just give like a real time. Yeah, great, thanks. Okay. Okay, everybody can see my screen? Okay, great. All right, so when you get access to the portal, like Teresa said, obviously you're going to have your credentials. We're going to have to grant you access. That's really a security issue to protect PII and all of that. On that same note, it's very, very important that you let us know if there are changes to your roster and to the access. So if somebody leaves the organization, or if you have, somebody who's coming on to the organization that needs access, please keep us updated on that. Myself, Teresa, and Michelle will have kind of an ongoing list of, who has access all the time. It's just there's a lot of really sensitive information in the portal, as there is in the system, the RentHelp system as well. So just want to make sure that we maintain control over has visibility to everything that's in this portal. So once you get access, you'll click into this is the main home page, like the landing page of the portal. You'll see 3 different tabs here. So there's resources, which is, really nice here. Michelle has done a great job uploading a bunch of resources for you. Anything you can think of that you might need. This is definitely your first stop, I think. If you think, oh, I need a form or I need, to know how to do something, first look here. And if you can't find it, always feel free to reach out to us. But you may be able to find what you're looking for in the resources tab. Over here is events. We may or may not use this. We'll see how much use we get out of it. We may remove it, but if we at WAB are creating an event and we'd like for you all to join, this will be where we can upload that event. We could also work with MHFA, and if they have events that they'd like to upload here, this is just an easy access, so that all of us are coming from a lot of different places. Having one place where everybody can click and find the link instead of saying, how do I get into the meeting? We hear that a lot. Hopefully, we can get some use out of this events tab. When you scroll down, you can see all of the partners here with your nice logos. Everybody should be listed here. Everybody has an individual page. So what that means is, though you can see everybody else's page, when you click into it, I'm an owner, so obviously I can see everybody. But if you, for example, are part of a liveness project, you're not going to be able to see Institute for Community Alliances. You're not going to be able to see everybody else's individual page. You'll see their little logo and it'll look nice for you on the landing page, but when you try to click in, it'll say access denied. So you only have access to your individual page. And again, that's a security measure that we built in so that there's not a bunch of sharing of PII and trying to keep control over people's personal information. So I will show you, I'll show you what this looks like. We'll do an example with Al Maun. So Felicia, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to show them a draft of what we're working on right now with the developer. This is actually what it's going to look like. So when you click in, this is a great picture of you, Felicia, by the way. When you click in, this is what it'll look like, because we're kind of updating just some cosmetic updates right now to make it look a little nicer. But we wanted to display and showcase, who your navigator is, who your assigned navigator is. That way you don't forget, how to access them, what their name is, what they look like even. And so this is what it will look like. This is what it looks like now. Eventually, we'll have a space here where you'll be able to see who your navigator is, and some instructions here to let you know how you can contact them. But for now, and I think this will be done by tomorrow, so by tomorrow it'll look a little different. So when you click into your individual page, these are the 3 most important sections or parts, forms, whatever you want to refer to it. The first one is that you'll use most often, I think, is submit a referral. So, as you know, you have a bunch of referrals, you got to get them to us. This is how you do that. When you click in to submit a referral, there will be a series of questions here. Basic information about your applicant. And once you fill this all out and go to the next page, there'll be a few questions about the landlord, the applicant's landlord, and you can click through this once you get access to the portal to see. And if you have any questions about the questions that we're asking you, feel free to let us know. But once you complete the questions that we're asking here in the form, push submit, they will go to your status board. So your status board will tell you, basically, it will list every referral that you've made for your individual organization. So again, this is Al Maun's referral status board, not everybody else's. So you can't see everybody else's referrals. So this is only the referrals that your organization has made. When you submit a referral here, this is obviously dummy data. This isn't real data. It'll have all the information that you filled out in the form. And then this section here, actually, for application ID, it will be blank at the beginning when you first submit it. That's because the navigator has to do a preliminary review of the referral that you sent over, and then they will send a link to the applicant. The applicant will click on the link, go through the RentHelp system, go through the pre-screening questions, and then once they submit their pre-screening questions, obviously hopefully they're eligible. The RentHelp system will create an application for them and generate an application ID. And when that happens, the navigator will come back to this status board and they'll edit your entry to enter an application ID that's associated with your referral. Once you see that the application ID is, populated in your referral here, it's no longer blank, you can go back to the main page. Sorry, not the main. Yes, the main page. Go back to the main page and you'll see this Excel sheet here called RentHelp-MN App Status. Here we go. This is where you can find the application status for all of the applications in the system. So the reason why it's so vague with just app ID and status is because we don't want everybody to see everybody's information. So there's no first name, last name of your applicant. There's no address or phone number, nothing like that. We wanted to keep all of that secure. This sheet updates automatically 3 times a day. It'll update first thing in the morning at 8 a.m. It'll capture 1 p.m. any progress that's been made in the morning. And then 6 p.m. it'll update again before the end of the day to capture everything that's happened in the afternoon. So every time you come in here, it'll tell you when it last updated with a timestamp so you can see what the status is. And then there's some instructions here for you in case you forget. All you'll do is a Control F on your keyboard and type in that application ID that you found in your referral status board, and then it'll pop up with the application status. Again, that status is not, it's not, what's the word? Static? Sounds like status. That status is not static. It's live, so it's updating constantly, 8 a.m., 1 p.m., 6 p.m. So if you check it at 9 a.m., you may want to, and you're curious at the end of the day, there may have been some work on the application. You can check again at 6 p.m. and see if anything's been done, before the end of the day, before you sign out, if you have a really eager tenant. What else? Let's go back to this page. Yes, the ticket inquiry. Okay, so this is how you submit a referral, right? You're filling out the form, you push submit. When you push submit, the status board is where you see whether or not your referral was actually an application was generated from your referral in the RentHelp system.
Alicia,
And then this is how you,
Alicia,
yeah.
can you actually open the
Michelle.
submit a referral form? Because it wasn't done. At least I didn't see it. Did anybody else see? Because I don't think you walked through the submit a referral form, or did I miss it?
Yeah, this was I think it may have been one of the first things, and I may have gone through it kind of fast. But this was the referral form. And it, the first 10 questions are applicant information, and then we have a few questions on the other side for landlords. So if you want, I can actually fill this out for you so you can see. I'm just going to put a bunch of test words in here. These are all required fields, so you can't go on unless you fill them out. Okay. And then the landlord information is actually optional because not everybody knows everything about their landlord. So we did make it optional, but if you can provide us, the more information, the better. If the tenant can get us at least their first name, last name, phone number, that would be super helpful. And then just fill that out for you. Not that they're required. I guess I could have pushed submit. Push submit, and then over here in your referral status board, here we go. That's the one that we just submitted. And notice that there's no application ID yet because your navigator is still doing their preliminary review. And then once they complete the vetting of your referral, they will send a link to the tenant. The tenant clicks on the link, goes through the pre-screening questions in the RentHelp portal, or the RentHelp system, I should say. And then it will generate an application ID, and then your navigator will come back through to your status board and they'll edit this field. So then you'll have an application ID here. So when you see the application ID pop up, okay, the referral made it through. Now it's an actual application. And then if you're curious about the status, that's when you go back to the landing page and go into this RentHelp app status Excel file and do a Control F. And then you can find the status here. Again, it updates 3 times a day. It's all auto-generated. There's nothing that we have to do, so it doesn't wait up on us. And everything should be there, and it would just be like this big long running list of applications. Yep, so let's go into this one last feature I wanted to show you. So once you're in your page, again, we'll use Al-Maun. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Al-Maun, is that right? Teresa, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Once you're in Al-Maun's page, for example, your individual organization page, this third button here is a submit a ticket inquiry. If you remember when we showcased you Felicia's name here, it says to contact your navigator, use the submit a ticket button below. Your navigator will get back to you within 1 business day. That's our promise. So this is the button that we're talking about down here. So when you submit a ticket, and this will look a little different too. What we're going to do is we're going to remove this so you don't have to select a navigator. It'll just automatically go to your navigator now that we have assignments. So this question won't be there. You don't have to worry about remembering your navigator's name, but everything else will be there. So this is your name, first and last name, your phone number, in case we don't have it. Application ID. So if obviously there's an application associated with your question, enter that. And then you want to put the question or the feedback or comment, concern that you have here for your navigator. You want to put that in great detail here and push submit. Once you push submit, an email will be generated to your navigator. And actually, an email also goes to MHFA. So Michelle and Teresa will be on these emails as well, so that we can track all of the inquiries that you have. It'll also populate on the back end for us in this big long sheet so that we can always track all of the inquiries. So our promise to you is to get back within 1 business day. We think we can meet that promise. If for some reason we need to take more time to research your question or your case, we'll at least get back to you and say, hey, we're on it. We're looking into this. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. So we can't say it will be resolved in 1 business day, but we will definitely get back to you within 1 business day to let you know we're working on it and give you a status update. And that's really all that there is to the individual pages and, to the landing page here. Again, lots of resources here for you. These will be updated regularly too, so check back. I'm sure in Teresa's newsletter and in the meetings that we have with, the biweekly meetings, I'm sure we'll update you if there's something new in the resources tab that you need to review. But yeah, let's go ahead and open up for questions. I feel like I said a lot. So is there anybody who has a question about the portal? Yeah, Sherry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sherry, and then I have a question from the chat for you, Alicia.
Sure.
My question is, if the client that we have, we submit the application or the referral to you. If there is a need, and from what I understand, it's just going to go between the navigator and the client now. If there's a need for documents that need to be uploaded or anything that needs to be done to help out to the process, or if we have a client that doesn't have access to being able to scan something, or is that going to be needed from us, or is that not even a thing that's going to be needed?
Yeah, I think I'll pass that to Teresa or Michelle. Did you want to address that, the partner's role in that?
Teresa, do you want me to answer that? So you are more than welcome to help if you would like to help. You are not obligated under no means to assist per your contract. But if you want to help them fill out their application, you can help them.
Yep. And you can help get documents to gather things from the landlord, and all those activities, if you are helping, are reimbursable services under the HSS funds. So your
So-
staffing time to assist with the application or to try to get a copy of the lease with the applicant and the landlord, that is considered HSS activities.
So, okay, so we will probably do that, I'm sure, but the reason why I'm asking, is there somewhere, are we supposed to submit it through this portal? Or are we supposed to only do it through the client's link?
So
The application.
so the initial is through this portal here. And then the portal, then they will get an email that has the link to fill out the whole application. Okay,
and
so it on that I would say for the email, because there's also a question about what happens if someone doesn't have an email address. You're working with the client to enter an email address. So you can enter an email address that is agreeable to both you and the client. So maybe they don't have an email address, but you can set up a Gmail to have this run through it. And again, the services you provide the client to help move this along are reimbursable under HSS.
So
if
when we
you-
get documents
Yep.
and we're going to send them in, is that going to be straight emails with the navigator? Or is that something that is going to be required for us to come back to this portal and upload it for the navigator?
So the actual specific, I want to make sure, Alicia, jump in if I'm wrong, is it would be from, you go into the link that was sent, the application. It wouldn't be through the portal. The portal
Right.
is more of a navigation device.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
thank
portal
you.
is, and I think I may have answered a question in the chat to somebody who had a related question. So the portal really is just for us to communicate with you. And that's all. So landlords, applicants, they don't use this portal. It's really between the three of us, really, MHFA, you all, the organizations, HSS partners, and Widow Bryan's or WOB or WOB. So the three of us communicate in the portal, and it's just a way for you to get your referrals to us, and for us to answer your questions, and for you to get a status update on where the application is in the process. Once it's been created and once you've submitted the referral, we've created the application in the RentHelp system, and then you can kind of track it as the application goes on, because the tenant might be asking you, what's going on with my application? And then it's just an easy one click away for you to say, oh, it's in final review, or, if you have a more specific or nuanced question, you can always submit a ticket, and the ticket goes to your navigator, who can then investigate what's going on with your case further. Okay, let's see who else.
So there's a couple questions in the chat that actually we are going to be going over in the next portion of the training. So maybe we just stop questions for now and do the rest of the training and then pick up on questions afterwards, because there's a lot of questions about the application link and how the application process works and things like that, which we actually will be going over next, which will answer questions that you actually have right now.
Yeah, that sounds good. We can just table those unless there's a question about the portal. So I'll just ask if you have your hand raised and it's specifically about the portal. Yeah. Zelina, you want to go ahead and ask your question? Yeah, go ahead. I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, maybe you have another weird button like I do.
You could put it in the chat too.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Zoom and Teams, sorry. Okay, so on the dashboard, as a subcontractor, is our dashboard link, is it customizable?
No.
So that, because we're under CMM. So is
It'll be under CMM.
Do you know what I mean?
You'll be under CMM. So
That's
all
what
the
I'm saying. So-
sub-grantees will be under the CMM. So if you're a sub-grantee, you will be under the original grantee.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. Is it then when we go under ours as CMM, is that a customizable page that we can kind of identify the different organizations within CMM?
At this time, we haven't thought about it. We can take it offline and talk about it, but we have not
Yeah.
thought about
Okay.
that. For those that have sub-grantees, we did not separate them because technically you're all one organization under the grant. So we
Okay.
did not what's the word I'm looking for?
Separate.
Split you up.
Separate.
That's it.
Yeah.
We didn't separate you.
And it's a lot, the number of allocations per month is to each agency. So it would be up to like CMM to figure out how they want to divide those slots up amongst their sub-grantees. Or IC is another one that has sub-grantees. And so I would not anticipate a breakout of that because we also want to be able to leave the grantees some flexibility to make movement within how they're assigning their vouchers, or not vouchers, that's not the right term, their allocations, their referrals as time goes on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Is there anybody with a portal question? Anything about the features or how to do something here? The purpose of it? Okay. Oh, Claudia, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I keep putting my hand up and down because I have to run. But can the email, and I don't know if you covered this already, but I put it in the chat. Can email be sent to referral partners that the clients will get with the application link?
No. They can't. Unfortunately, it's only one email. The email is the registration that the portal will be in. And so I want to clarify something that was sent in that was said at the beginning. So the portal for the Rent Help Minnesota portal where applications is not going to be open to the public, but it
Right.
will be open to applicants who receive a login or a referral link to do their applications and for landlords to participate. So it won't be open to the public, but will be open to those participating in the targeted assistance program. So when we ask for an email for referrals, if they've participated in before, we want that email. We want the email they've used in the past so that we can connect all the applications that they've used in the past. So we know what they've done, how much assistance they've received, and that is the email that their referral will go to. We can't copy people on it. We can't send it to multiple emails. They can only get it to one email. So that's why we can't add the HSS people that are working with them to that email. It can only go to one email.
Okay. Claudia, did that answer
Thank
your
you.
question? Yep.
Yes, it did. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great, great. And let's go to Denise. Denise, do you have a question about the Minnesota Housing Partner Portal that's on the screen?
I do. Because I'm a visual learner, can you show me one more time what the referral form looks like?
Yep, sure.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I'll click through it again. So for example, you're going to go to your individual page. Again, you know, depending on what organization you're part of, you're going to click on your page. So we'll use this one for an example. Once you scroll down, you'll see 3 buttons. You'll see submit a referral, referral status, and submit a ticket. So to submit a referral, you're going to just click on submit a referral, and then it takes you right to the form. And you fill it out. And again, the applicant information is required. The landlord information is optional. The more you can provide us, the better. Once you fill it out and push submit, then those referrals that you've submitted through that form are connected to this referral status board. And when you go into the referral status board, you'll see everything that you've referred here. It'll be a big long list of all of your referrals. And then, you know, the way that you know that an application was actually generated and created in the RentHelp system is if there's an application ID here. If there's no application ID, that means your navigator is still reviewing your referral. They're still working on, making sure everything is eligible. And it could also mean that we're waiting on the tenant, to click the link that we sent them and to walk through the pre-screening questions in the RentHelp-MN system in order to generate that application. So that, it's not always that we're waiting on the navigator. We like to turn these around in 1 to 2 business days tops, really. And hopefully, we can get an application ID generated here in the next several days. But if you don't see an app ID generated here, that means it's still either pending on our end or it's pending on the tenant's end, and they have to complete what they need to do in the system in order to generate their application. Once they get that application generated, we'll know the ID. Your navigators every day are checking to make sure, okay, who has generated an application, what is that application ID, how can I connect it to a referral. That's their sole responsibility, is to make sure, that we're keeping you up to date on the status of your applications. So once they get the application ID, they enter it here, and then that's the application ID that you use to go back through to the main screen and click on the RentHelp-MN status, and then that brings you to the Excel file here. You can do a Control F and you can find your statuses. And this is the document that updates 3 times a day. Is that good, Denise? Did you have any other specific questions for me?
Nope, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I will stop sharing now and pass it back to Teresa. Thanks, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to our presentation that we have here. All right. That up there, everybody can see my screen. So
Yep,
some of this, Alicia was kind enough to actually show you the portal. So I'm gonna just go real quick through some of this because it was definitely covered when we just talked about it. But again, it's an email-based logon for each user. And we've talked about sending me those email addresses. And this is the system you'll be using for RentHelp-MN. That's what it looks like. We just looked at it. So this will be nice because I'm going to send out this slide deck to everybody. So you'll be able to have the copy of this too as you go back and reference things. So that's what the referral will look like. And now let's talk again about the application completion overview. Who's eligible for RentHelp-MN? And I want to mention too, before I get into this, is that we will have in the very near future an optional training that goes more into the application itself and all the different parts of it. So what the client will be seeing as they fill out their application. So I will get that information out to everybody very soon because that will be a deeper dive into the actual application process. So again, we've talked before about people are eligible if they have experienced a financial hardship, either a decrease in income, increase in expenses, and are in need of rent or utility assistance to help with their housing stability. So eligible households can apply for back rent only, rent arrears only. They could apply for rent arrears in up to 3 future months. If there's no back rent owed or it's a new apartment or new lease, people can apply for up to 3 future months of rent. They can apply for rent and utilities or utilities only. Utilities does not pay for future expenses, but rent will pay for up to 3 months of future rent. And if someone still is in need, so if they get 3 months of future rent, they could apply again after 3 months if they're still housing unstable, up to the eligible amount of months that they have. So this is the email that we have talked about at length, the application completion overview. This is the invitation that would go out to the person whose email address was entered as part of that referral process. So it's generated by the WAB navigator after the successful referral, and that application link would be how to continue the application process. So this is a vital part of the process and has to be this link to get you to the application process. All right, incomplete status. When the WAB navigator enters the referral, the initial application status is going to be incomplete. That remains until the person completes and submits the application. So to get it to the point of being submitted, the case manager from WAB will reach out to the applicant and offer assistance and request information if needed. They're available to answer questions, and the case manager will make a minimum of 3 attempts in 14 days to contact the applicant about the submission and assist them. And if no contact is made after 14 days, then it would not move ahead. So this is the checklist of what the applicant needed to apply. It's some of the same information from last time. The 2022 taxable income would just be different. I think last time was 2020 taxable income. So the landlord's name, lease or lease agreement, past due rent statement or a ledger, all the members that live in the household. So if you do run into situations with roommates, just a reminder that roommates need to apply on the same application. Income, a form of ID for the head of household, and utility bills if applicable. These are some resources to assist the applicant, and this also lists out the forms that are on that partner portal page. So you do have access to these forms, which I'm not going to read off. But again, please, as soon as you have access, explore the portal on your own so you can take a look at that. All right, so this slide and the next slide is all the different statuses that you might see in that portal when you go to kind of that main spreadsheet that Alicia showed, where it just had the application number and the status. So even as you move ahead, use this as reference because there are different statuses that could be on there. So kind of the initial review and some are pending. Withdrawn would be if someone is no longer applying for assistance or duplicate applications. It might say it's pending. Renter acceptance, which means that they're waiting to receive documents from the renter, requires applicant response. So all these different things are statuses that you could see that you should be aware of so that you can, if possible, assist the client with moving ahead. These are more statuses that will carry you all the way through to final review, submitted for funding, funding approved, payment set, incomplete. So you can kind of see how it would move along and the statuses you might see as you move through that process. So I will click off this page and we will have time for questions, which I was hoping, but I just want to stress again that the portal opens tomorrow. So we are very excited. If you have clients that are current HSS clients that you've been waiting to hopefully get some rental assistance, now is the time that we can finally move ahead with that. So thank you everybody for getting us to this point of training. All right. Questions? Sherry?
I have a quick question about release of information. Do we need to get a release of information for us to send the referral to the navigator?
On part of the application, because you're doing the HSS application with everybody that has like the state Tennyson warning and some language on there about sharing information with Minnesota Housing and Partners. So there would not need to be a separate release for WOB. They're part of the partner contract.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I see, I assume that if clients are in subsidized housing, they're not eligible. Subsidized housing clients are actually eligible for RentHelp-MN, the targeted assistance. They're only eligible for the portion of their rent that they would normally pay. So as long as it's their portion of rent and not an unsubsidized amount or the total amount, they can do that.
There are
Yes.
some other things that they would be eligible for too as well. So if they are in subsidized housing and say they are in a payment plan as well, where they did not claim income and they were in a payment plan from April of 2020 to currently, they could get assistance helping pay off that payment plan. It will be a case-by-case basis that needs to be approved by Minnesota Housing. So if we can help them pay that payment plan off, let's do it.
Allison?
Yeah, my question, when you were talking about there's a case manager that will reach out to the person 3 times in 14 days, is that the Widow Bryan case manager?
It
And it's not
is,
us. Okay.
yes. That is some of the confusing terminology. So at WOB, there will be the housing, the navigators who you met on this presentation, and then the case managers is the CMs is the term that they use on their side for the staff that are actually working the application. So you'll be working still with the client, assuming, but the case manager can work directly with the client to request information and help them through that process. And that's part of the commitment that they're making.
So once we do the screening with a person and they get the link, there's a chance that we never see it because they're like, great, I've got it.
That, yes, reasonably the person could say, I will, take it from here and fill out the application and upload everything themselves.
So if we don't if they can't do any of the uploading and we only have their link for the application to upload, do we just have them, I'm just talking through this, but do we just have them log in on our computer?
Yeah, I think that those are going to be some of the workarounds that each agency will kind of develop as you move ahead in the process, because there's some people who don't have access to a computer, and if you can help support them on that and help them with some of the upload and things, that would be, an activity that you could do. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, this is not, I was reminded because of the question, but Allison, does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. And you are able for each agency to triage and figure out how you will make the referrals and what your process is. So it's not meant to, because it's considered targeted assistance, it's not meant to be a front-facing, anybody can log on and do an application, or that anybody can just call you and say, hey, I want a referral. You have your own priority lists that you're developing to figure out who to best serve. So maybe you're starting with existing HSS clients. I know some agencies have talked about contacting clients that they've already worked with on HSS, but might not be actively working with, just to see if that might be appropriate. So you're working within the confines and boundaries of your agency and your priorities too, if that helps, because it's not meant to be just a general anybody referral program. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. So Michelle answered, we will certainly get the slide deck out, as well as the training out to everybody. CMM. So with CMM, it's usually our role, this is from Beth, to facilitate the landlord and applicant working together. Do you have a checklist for landlords? At what point can landlords get info from you about applications? So are you saying like from you, as far as like when would WOB pull them into the process? I think that might be the question.
Yeah.
So Alicia is.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure. So once you make the referral and then we have an application, ideally speaking, in a perfect world, the referral's made, the applicant gets the link in the Rent Help system. They click on it immediately because they're so excited. This is a perfect world. And then an application is generated, right? And then at that point, once we get that application ID and it's updated in your portal, one of the navigators is going to your assigned navigator, whoever is assigned to you, will take that application, assign it to a case manager. Like Teresa said, we call them case managers. These are the folks who are actually doing the active reviews. They're conducting outreach to the tenants and the landlords to make sure that we have all of the information that we need to have a complete application, because we all know it's not a perfect world. 90% of the time, we don't have everything we need. The applicant will maybe forget to upload their income or, something. And so there's more information that we need from the applicant. The case manager is the one who's actually doing that one-to-one outreach directly to the tenant. And then, of course, they're going to have to communicate with the landlord as well. So that's sort of simultaneous, I think. In a day, the case manager might reach out to both the tenant and the landlord if information's needed from both. But that's the piece that I think you're asking about. Once the case is assigned, the application is assigned to a case manager. The case manager, the Widow Bryan's case manager, will reach out to the tenant and the landlord, engage them, get what's needed to complete the application, and then push that application forward to final review. I hope that answers your question. Anything else there, Beth?
Thank you. And then just to follow up, if we have a landlord that refuses to participate, they don't want to provide a 1099, do you make an exception and allow payments to go to applicants?
Yeah, I think so. Michelle, is that right? We don't want that to stand in the way.
We will pay the tenant, but the landlord needs to understand that if we pay the tenant directly and the tenant chooses not to pay the landlord, we are not responsible for what happens after that check is given to the tenant, because the check is made out to the tenant.
Yeah, perfect world, they pay the landlord, right? That's what we hope. Hopefully they don't go on a shopping spree or something, but what we would like to see and what we encourage is, pay your rent, pay the past due, pay the futures, whatever you need to get yourself settled with your landlord.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lorraine?
Yes, thank you. I have a question, but I want to go back to this last question that was just asked. If I understand this correctly, if the landlord does not want to give up the 1099, if the landlord gives up the 1099, then the check goes to the landlord. If the
Correct.
landlord doesn't want to give up the 1099, the check goes to the tenant
Correct.
themselves. Okay, got that. Um, Widow O'Brien will try to reach out to the tenant 3 times within 14 days, but if the tenant does not have a working phone, like the phone only works in Wi-Fi, um, is there an alternative? For instance, our office um, schedule something with that tenant to be in our office so that they could have access to a phone when the Widow O'Brien navigator is trying to reach out to that tenant? Because that sometimes is the case where folks don't have working phones, or they're not always in Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah, I can take this one, Teresa. Yeah. So sure. So ideally speaking, your tenant will have the direct phone number to your case manager. And so hopefully they will have that because a case manager will reach out as soon as they're assigned. There's also a RentHelp-MN hotline that we've established. We haven't really talked about this, but it is a phone number that we're only going to share with you all. And you can share with your tenants, the folks that you're referring to the program. We're trying to encourage that this phone number doesn't get out, on social media, shared, with everybody's friends, because we'd like to keep the phone number really special and just for tenants so that they can get through to us. So that's another way. Like, for example, if you have a tenant who hasn't heard from their case manager, just maybe their application hasn't actually been assigned yet or something, and they're, anxious about paying rent and they just really want to contact somebody, they can call the Rent Help hotline. And then we can, from there, we can transfer them to a navigator or track down, what's happening with their case and get them some answers, kind of put them at ease. So there's 2 ways to do that. So ideally speaking, I would think, like, if the tenant comes to your office, they don't have a phone, they need to get in touch. Hopefully they have their case manager's direct line, and they know that number. If they don't, you can just contact your navigator. Your navigator knows all of the case manager's direct phone numbers, so you could do it for them. You could provide them that assistance if you'd like, and we could connect them that way. Or you can just call the hotline, and the hotline, they'll pick up the phone and transfer you to the case manager. So long answer, but short answer is yes. They can certainly do that, and we can assist them that way.
So I also want to add that they're not only going to be calling them, they are going to be sending them communications via the portal. And so it will be written and calls in those 14 days. And if they don't communicate both ways, the person doesn't communicate, the application will be withdrawn. So they will be trying to communicate with them 2 different ways. And if the person doesn't communicate back, we have to withdraw their application and move on to the next person.
I
Right.
understand
Yeah.
that there's the process, but I also want to make sure that individuals that may have a mental block, or the capacity, is low, that we're able to, as providers, to be able to help them at all costs be able to get their rent paid so they're not homeless. So I understand that there's 2 ways that they are able to have contact with the case manager. We as a provider can reach out to the navigator to try and set them up for success, versus if they don't do it this way or they don't do it that way, because we deal with many different people in the community, and not
Yeah.
everybody can remember, not everybody it's tech savvy, not everybody has the working
Mm-hmm.
phone. So we as providers want to be able to set them up for success and be able to help as much as we possibly can, help to see to it that their rent is paid and not their application withdrawn.
Definitely. No, I
So
completely
thank
agree with
you.
that. Yeah, I will say, we worked a lot of different programs, a lot of different states, and we haven't always had field partners, organizations on the ground helping us. So it's a huge benefit that you all are involved. It makes our jobs a lot easier. It helps us communicate. We want to encourage you to do all of the things that you just said, to help your applicants. It'll help us in the long run. So anything that you can do to get them connected with us, we encourage you to do so. And I think we've tried to establish as many ways to communicate with us as possible. So, take advantage of what's there. But yeah, with you on that for sure.
And one of the things I was just thinking of too, as we talk about like the emails and reaching out, there is also a paper application available for people. So that is an option. If the email link to the application doesn't work, that is an option. All right, let's go back to people. Sherry?
I just have a quick question about the duplicate of services. So we also have the fast track FHPAP, and it's been kind of like a discussion, making sure that they haven't reached out to other agencies. We're having to check on that. So I guess it might be a dumb question, but I was just wondering if, like, do we report if we know that they've received fast track? Is it something that we are supposed to relay for this program, or is the navigator have the ability to go into HMIS, and are they going to be able to check if they have received services, or is this just duplicate of just funds for this program and we're not having to worry about it's crossing over to FHPAP?
So a person could be getting the targeted rent assistance and be with FHPAP2 as long as it's not paying the same rent. So it can't be applying for targeted rent assistance at the same time that they're getting rent paid through FHPAP. Was there other parts to the question? I think I might be missing. So it doesn't if they're on FHPAP, it doesn't exclude them from HSS or HSS RentHelp-MN Targeted Assistance or vice versa. It just can't be a duplication. Does that help, Sherry?
Yeah, I was just wondering because I wasn't sure if we have to, like, if there was a person that went to more than one agency and say we had targeted them for this program, but then another agency also had targeted them for this program. So I was just wondering, I'm assuming the navigator is the one who's going to have to figure this out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right
Yeah.
then.
And there is a
Sorry,
status for duplicate applications. So
Yeah, definitely. We can see that on our end. Yeah. That's part of the navigator's review process.
Yeah. All right. Michelle Jensen?
Hi there. So I just wanted to clarify based on the answer you gave, it would be possible to serve someone to get their back rent paid through Fast Track, for example, and they could still apply for rent help or this program for the future 3 months, correct? Like maybe they had a emergency or something happened and they have zero income.
Correct.
Where Fast Track can catch them up and we can then do a referral to rent help.
Correct.
Okay, thanks for clarifying, Teresa.
I have a quick question. I just wanted to confirm that I heard right that households or participants are eligible for up to 18 months of rent. So if they already received those 18 months during the first round of RentHelp-MN, that they're not eligible now.
That is correct. Yes. And so there was also another question in the chat about if there was a dollar amount limit. There's not a dollar amount limit, but larger amounts will be reviewed, have another round of review with it. The only actual like firm limit is the 18 months of assistance.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify that, it's 18 months of ERA assistance, and that's through any ERA program. So if they received ERA assistance through Zero Balance, through Ramsey County, through any of the county programs, through the RentHelp program, they are not eligible for assistance through this program. And we will do our best to check. That is why one of the referral questions is if they received any ERA assistance.
In some cases, I feel like it might be hard to know, well, at least for me, since I'm a little newer to this, to know what ERA, like which programs are ERA. But in Rice County, I don't know if there was anything other than RentHelp-MN that would count as, does that stands for like American Rescue Act or something?
Yeah. Yeah, ERA funds, you might
Okay.
hear referred to. Yeah, some of the counties had their own ERA programs. There was also some funding that went through, oh, I can't think of what it's called now. There was
CHAP?
I am totally, yeah, not even CHAP. There was another portal type program that ran, I'm gonna blank on it, so I'm not even gonna describe it. But anyways, my whole point is there are other programs that used ERA funding, and that is part of what the navigators will be doing is to try to determine if there's been funding through other sources as well or through ERA. So just provide all the information you can, and we'll do our best to make sure that it's not going to be a duplicate and people are given the months of funding that they are able. So we have hit 3:30. I will send this training out, the video as well as the PDF of the presentation itself that has all that information. If you have not sent me the listing of the email addresses for the people at your agency who need that access to the portal, please do so. And as soon as you have access, the referrals can start as soon as tomorrow. I will also update agencies on their referral numbers. Like I said, a few of them may have gone up slightly as we reallocated resources, but you have your initial referral number to get started, and I'll be in communication. I will send out a roundtable meeting planner. And then we will also plan on having a deeper training about the application process itself and try to get everybody up to speed. But I think the main parts are all there and they're all working. So reach out. Everybody has my email. Reach out if you have any questions that come up. And that will also help me for our next roundtable meeting, questions that come up to figure out what topics to focus on for that. So I appreciate everybody's time and commitment, and I'm happy to see all the providers back again. So take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.